Hello and welcome to another Retro Crazy. We're looking at the Commodore 64 again. This time, however, it's the Commodore 64 Breadbin. So named because of its kind of distinct shape. It does look like a bread bin. This one doesn't work. Last time I checked it was just a black screen, so we're going to start by doing a quick teardown, and then we will do our usual recapping and changing the power transistors, the 7805 and the 7812, and then we'll have a look at seeing if we can diagnose what the issue is with this poorly machine. So let's get down to disassembly. So there we go, nice simple teardown, and we can see our 7805 and 7812s ready to be replaced, and a whole bunch of capacitors all over the board ready to go. In fact, one tucked away, two tucked away in here as well. So let's get these all done, but I'm going to clean off this to make working a little bit easier around the VIC chip. I did all these caps en masse. They're actually all the same value and the same voltage, although we can see three different distinct types. I think the smaller ones are used just for clearance, and they may be an audio cap or a better quality cap to work with the video system. But why there is a difference here between these ones, I don't know. It's probably down to Commodore's cost saving as usual. So let's ditch these and let's replace them all. As this machine was one that I know was just giving a black screen, first thing I'm going to do now, everything has been recapped and I've replaced the two voltage regulators, the 7805 and the 7812. I'm just going to check the voltages and see how they come out. So I'm going to use the ground, whether it's there, whether it's here, and I'm just going to check the outputs on these and see what's what. So a rock solid 5.06 volts there, and 12.14 there. So the board is getting the right voltages. So next, let's see if we're still getting a black screen. But before we do that, I'm just going to reseat the two socketed chips, just to make sure there's no issue there, and we'll take it from there. Okay, I can't speak highly enough of this. This is the Jonard Tools EX2. I had to order this in from the States, but what a difference it makes for removing chips. It's such a nice, simple way of doing things. I started off just trying to loosen both sides, just to break any, grip that the system had, or sorry, that the sockets had on the chips because they've been in there for a long time. And then in with this and it just lifts them up straight. It's absolutely superb. Well worth having a look for. Now this is just a little bit of deoxit. Commodore are not known for their quality sockets, so rather than lift this in and out, a little bit of deoxit should help to clean the last of any contamination that might exist on the socket, and hopefully give us the best chance possible of getting this running. As I say, my suspected culprit is the PLA, which I have a fix for if it is. If it's something else, then we're in a bit more of a sticky bind. But let's go to testing. Sorry if you hear any creaks and groans or the picture moves quickly. I'm currently just doing this handheld just to confirm there's no change to the 64. So we saw a change in the screen. So the system's trying to power up, but there's still nothing. Now a basic check is to do a heat check, and I've already done that and there's nothing obvious. The VIC chip's getting warm, that's normal, but other than that, pretty much static. So let's go back to the blue mat. So as I said earlier, my suspected culprit is the PLA, which sits at U17. So I'm going to desolder this, fit a socket, and I've got another machine I can check this PLA on. And there we are, that's that out. It's the first time I've successfully managed to desolder using my desolder gun, and apparently the trick is to have it up at maximum heat, and yeah, make sure you've got your unjamming rod handy, because at one point I did end up with a nice giant bung of solder. However, I seem to have got a little bit better at it, so let's fit on a socket and take it from there. I'm down on the floor now, ready for some testing. Before I start, I've got my daily driver, which has the socketed PLA. Obviously you won't be able to see that because of the shield. It's got a socketed PLA just here. So, first test, just make sure this works. Actually, it helps if I put the power on. The power supply. So this is a working C64. So let's put in the PLA that came out of this machine and see what happens. Now I'm kind of hoping this is the issue because it makes life so much simpler. So let's see. And quite definitive black screen. It did disappear, but black screen, nothing. So that, unfortunately, is a dead PLA. So that's for the bin. Let's swap over and we'll have this one on. So the machine I'm working on is now all hooked up and I need to replace the PLA. I don't have an original, but what I do have from a previous video are some of the GAL PLAs that I made. So let's drop this in, make sure the power's off, and let's find out if this cures the problem. Excellent, we have what looks like a working C64, however, yeah, something's not right. I can see colour changes on the letters, that shouldn't have jumped. Something's not quite right. So let's pop in the dead test and have a look. So it comes up, the characters are corrupt straight off. Oh, U9, U11, U21, U23, U24 telling me bad. And you can see on screen it's starting to degrade. And that was testing the screen RAM. So we may have an issue with the screen RAM. At this moment in time, I don't have any RAM chips to try. So I'll need to order some up. So see you shortly. I was having a couple of passes and I started to notice something. So let's see if you can spot it. I'm actually seeing different RAM chips failing on a number of different passes. So do we have an issue with the addressing? And it's quite common for one of the 74 latches to go. So I'll maybe order up some spare latches as well.
So I've done a bit of online digging and checking on the circuit diagrams, and U13 and U25 select which bank of memory. It does seem that everything swaps about a bit, so one or both of these could be a culprit. U15 is another one. So I'm going to desolder these and I'm going to check them on the TLL 8662 programmer I've got, which will be able to read them and find out if either or any of them are faulty. So I didn't have any sockets that fitted, so I've made some out of pin strip, so that's fine. However, to get the ICs out, I used the hot air gun. Unfortunately, you might notice I burnt the board slightly. Board seems fine, I don't see any major issues other than a slight discoloration. However, I did break that chip quite spectacularly. And that's one of the dangers using the first method I was using, which is to put your pin lift tool underneath and put some pressure on as you're applying heat. I think what happened is one side gave, the other side didn't. So when it suddenly jumped, it put so much extra pressure on it cracked the chip. I do have a spare, so let's hope that this particular one isn't faulty. So let's go test these LS74LS257s. So now we're set up for testing. I'm going to take the 74LS, drop it in, and from here we're going to select 74LS257. Yep, battery is low, that's fine. Select, it's in, and test. And it tested normal. Hopefully the damaged chip is the one that was faulty. I do have a spare, So let's test this. And with this one in, let's test. And it says that one's fine as well. Well, let's pop them in and see what happens.
Okay, so it wasn't the 257s, so I've done a bit more digging on the circuit diagram and on a couple of forums just to see what the most common culprits are. I've desoldered those and got them back here for testing. So the first I'm going to check are the 4066 logics. Make sure it's in correctly. And for this, I've updated this to the latest version, and somewhere along here is the logic test. And again, I'm going to select 4066. That tests fine. The second one, and that one tests fine. So next I'm going to check the 74 258. So let's test the 74 258, and that's testing normally. Running out of chips to test. Hopefully it's one of these. 74 373. And that's testing normally. And the last one I've taken out is the 74 139. And that's testing normally. Okay. I'm a bit stumped. That's most of the logic chips that would control kind of both banks of memory. Okay, I'll need to think about where I go from here. I can't believe this. I have socketed the CIAs, all the ROMs, the processor. I've taken out the CIAs and the SID chip because they were kicking up as bad, obviously, because, well, the SID, because it was faulty, we knew that, but the CIAs were coming up as bad, so I've lifted them out and it's running. Yeah, I'm no longer getting errors on the memory. It's strange that it only stabilized once I socketed everything. So I'm wondering if part of the issue was a bad solder joint. Yeah, it's running. And it's running. And it's running. The minute I put the SID chip back in, it fails. It's been the SID chip all along. I should have just lifted it out when I knew it wasn't working. Very stupid mistake to make. That's what I get for not doing it there and then. But it looks like this is finished. I'll need to obviously get a replacement for the SID chip, whether that's an original or whether I go for a Swin SID or a Nano SID or something. But the next time you see it, we'll be testing it with a replacement. Well, fingers crossed, all assembled. Let's power on and see what happens. Good so far. Let's see what happens when we load a tape. Again, the classic Llama Soft. And there we go. This time I remembered to plug in a controller. So let's find out what happens. Well, sound works. And yep, that's definitely working. And I'm killing a llama, apparently. A mutant, oh, mutant llama. Well, I can turn a llama purple, that's something. Okay, I'm going to let that start and leave it off screen. Whatever happens, there's certainly no fault with the joystick ports, there's no fault with the sound, everything's working perfectly. Superb! Well, another win, another system done, complete with a hair, lovely. So this one is ready to be packed away. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, really important. And I'll see you on the next Retro Crazy.